Today we're going to talk about repeating decimals. We know how to write 0.4 as a fraction. Remember, another way to say that is 4/10. And as with all fractions, we want to reduce as much as we can, take out any common factors. Well, 2 comes out of both of those to make the fraction of 0.4 2/5. But do we know how to write 0.4 repeating? We know as a decimal, it looks like this. The repeating pattern is always under the repeating bar. So this is saying that 0.4 with the 4 repeating, we want to know how to write that as a fraction. So here's what we're going to talk about is the steps to do that. So when we are writing, and notice that here it says the repeating pattern is right after the decimal point. We need this to be able to work out with the pattern that's right after. So what we want to do is determine the last the last value in the pattern that repeats. So whether that's in the tenths place or the hundredths place, etc., etc., etc. Then what we do is we subtract 1 from that place value. That is my denominator. The repeating pattern, so just the pattern that's repeating or under the repeating bar, is the numerator. And then we simplify if possible. So let's do that 0.4 repeating as a fraction in simplest form. Well, the pattern ends here in the tenths column. So the tenths is the actual pattern that if it didn't have the repeating bar, we would put it over 10. But remember, we're going to take the tenths and subtract 1 from that. So that's going to make my denominator a 9. Now the repeating part, which is under the repeating bar, in this case is just the 4. So 4 is my numerator. And then I look to see if there's a common factor in both 4s and 9s. Well, there isn't. That means that 0.4 repeating is 4/9. Pretty simple. Now we want to look at a repeating decimal where there's 2 digits that repeat. So first of all, we want to look at where does this last place value happen. It's in the hundredths column. Okay, so the hundredths means we take 100 and subtract 1. Notice the pattern starts again right after the decimal. We know this is a negative number. The hundredths minus 1 means my denominator is a 99. And then the repeating pattern in this case is 23. So before we can reduce any further, we got to say, is this already reduced? We look at those two numbers. There's nothing that can go out from either of those through multiplication or division. That is our final answer. And our last example here is we have 1.25 with the 25 repeating. So again, our last place value is the 100ths place. So I take 100 and subtract 1. That's going to give me the 99. Now remember that the repeating pattern is under the repeating bar, which is the 25. But don't forget on this one, we also have that whole number in the front. We need to make sure that we have that with it. So when I look at the fraction 25/99, there's nothing that I can take out of either of those, so 1 and 25/99 is okay. That's not a bad answer for us. One of the other things, though, that we are talking about this year is we're kind of happy with improper fractions. So we might want to consider changing this to an improper fraction. Remember, when you change it to an improper, you would multiply the denominator by the whole number, so 99 times 1 is 99, and then add 25 to it. So 124 99ths. Now again, there's nothing really wrong with the 1 and 25 99ths. Both of those are saying the same answer. A little bit better to have as the improper fraction, especially if I was going to multiply this by something else and continue to solve. So that's kind of the quick way to do some of these. There are some more complicated ones when the repeating pattern is not right after the decimal. We just wanted to focus on trying to show you how to do a repeating decimal as a fraction when the repeating part of the decimal comes right after the decimal point. Basically, you subtract 1 from the largest place value. That's your denominator, and the repeating pattern goes as your numerator.